The crystalline halls of the Galactic Council chamber stretched toward a ceiling that seemed to touch the stars themselves. Ambassador Jin-Soo Park walked through those halls for the 7th time in 15 years. And he knew it would be the last. His delegation followed behind him in silence. 5 other humans, each representing different aspects of Earth's unified government. They wore simple dark suits, a stark contrast to the elaborate garments and biological displays of the alien representatives who watched them pass. Some of those watching faces showed amusement. Others showed contempt. None showed respect. Jin-Soo had seen that look before. 6 times before, to be exact. The council chamber itself was a massive circular room with seating arranged in tiers that rose toward the walls. 247 species held seats in this chamber. Each had voting rights. A day, each had full sovereignty over their territories. Each had earned their place through either technological achievement, military strength, or centuries of participation in galactic affairs. Humanity had none of these qualifications, according to the Council. "The human delegation may approach," announced the Vrock representative, his voice booming through the chamber. The Vrock were massive beings, nearly 3 meters tall, with 4 arms and crystalline growths that covered their heads like crowns. They were the Council's military backbone, and they never let anyone forget it. Jin-Soo walked to the central platform. He had stood here 6 times before, making humanity's case. Each time, he had been polite, reasonable, and professional. Each time, he had hoped that reason would prevail. "Honorable representatives," Jin-Soo began, his voice steady and clear. "Humanity comes before you once again to discuss the terms of our membership in the Galactic Council. We have reviewed the latest proposal you sent to Earth. And you will accept?" asked the Thessian representative, a serpentine creature whose scales shifted colors with her emotions. Currently, they showed patterns that Jin-Soo had learned meant smug satisfaction. "No," Jin-Soo said simply. "We will not." A murmur ran through the chamber. The Thessian scales flickered with colors Jin-Soo didn't recognize. "The terms you offer are unacceptable," Jin-Soo continued. "You demand that humanity accept tributary status, which would make Earth subordinate to Council oversight. You require us to share all our technology with the Council while offering nothing in return. You offer us representation in this chamber, but no voting rights. You claim the right to approve or reject any human colony before we can establish it. You insist that human military vessels require Council permission to enter any system, even systems we discovered and surveyed ourselves. These are standard terms for new species," the Vrock representative interrupted. "Every species must prove themselves worthy of full membership." Jin-Soo nodded slowly. "We understand the Council has protocols. But let me be clear about what humanity finds unacceptable. You treat us as children who stumbled into FTL technology by accident. You ignore that humans developed faster than light travel independently, without any outside assistance. You dismiss our achievements because we are new to galactic affairs. Your species has existed in space for less than 50 years, said the Krell representative, its voice like grinding stones. The Krell were ancient, silicon-based beings who measured their civilization's age in millions of years. You have 32 vessels that you call a fleet. You control 14 star systems. These are not achievements. These are the first steps of an infant species. Perhaps, Jin-Soo acknowledged. But even infant species deserve respect. More importantly, they deserve honesty in negotiation. You dare suggest the Council has been dishonest? The Vrock representative's crystals glowed with anger. I suggest the Council has been condescending, Jin-Soo replied calmly. 15 years ago, we came here seeking partnership. We offered friendship, trade, and cooperation. We asked only to be treated as equals. Instead, you have spent 15 years trying to determine how much you can take from us while giving as little as possible in return. The chamber erupted in noise. Representatives shouted objections, demands for apology, and threats of consequences. Jinsu stood silent, waiting for them to finish. Finally, the council speaker called for order. She was a Viridian, a species known for diplomatic skills and long memory. Her 3 eyes studied Jinsu with something that might have been concern. "Ambassador Park," she said carefully. "The council has offered humanity a path to full membership. That you find this path difficult does not make it unfair. Many species have walked this road before you, and many species have been exploited by it," Jinsu countered. "We have studied council history, Speaker. We know that tributary status often becomes permanent. We know that technology sharing agreements favor established members. We know that colonies require council approval, because the council wants to control where new species can expand." "You are paranoid," the Thessian representative hissed. "We are informed," Jinsu corrected. "We spent 15 years trying to negotiate in good faith. We compromised. We adjusted our requests. We accepted delays and additional requirements. But each time we met your demands, you added new conditions. Each time we demonstrated our capabilities, you dismissed them as insufficient." He paused, looking around the chamber at the hundreds of alien faces watching him. 3 weeks ago, your intelligence vessels were detected surveying human colony worlds without permission. When we protested, you claimed the right to inspect any system where humans operate. 2 months ago, Krell mining operations began in a system that humanity surveyed and claimed 5 years ago. When we objected, you said our claim was invalid because we had not received council approval. 6 months ago, Vrock military vessels entered the Sol system and conducted exercises near Earth without notification or permission. When we called this an act of aggression, you laughed. The Vrock representative stood. "Those exercises were a demonstration. We were showing you what a real military looks like, so you would understand your place in the galaxy." Jinsu met the Vrock's glowing eyes. "And now, humanity understands perfectly." Silence fell over the chamber. Something in Jinsu's tone had changed. The polite diplomat was gone. What remained was something harder. Something that had been forged over 15 years of frustration and dismissal. "Humanity came to this chamber 7 times seeking peace," Jinsu said, his voice carrying to every corner of the room. 7 times we asked for fair treatment, for equal partnership, for mutual respect. 7 times you offered us subordination, disguised as cooperation." He gathered his papers, a symbolic gesture since everything was digital, but the meaning was clear. "Humanity will not come here an 8th time. We withdraw from all negotiations with the Galactic Council. We will pursue our own interests, establish our own colonies, and defend our own territories. We will no longer seek your permission, your approval, or your recognition." "You cannot simply leave," the Thessian representative shouted. "You exist in council space. You use hyperspace lanes that the council maintains. You benefit from the peace and order that the council provides. Then the council should have offered us partnership instead of servitude," Jinsu replied. He turned to leave, his delegation following. "If you walk away from these negotiations, humanity will stand alone," the Vrock representative called out. "Alone and unprotected. We could teach your species a harsh lesson about respecting your betters." Jinsu stopped. He turned back slowly. "For 15 years, humanity has been patient. We have been polite. We have been peaceful. We gave you every opportunity to be our friends." His voice was cold now, colder than the void between stars. "You chose to be something else. So be it. But understand this clearly. Humanity does not need the Council's protection." He walked out of the chamber, his footsteps echoing in the sudden silence. Behind him, the Council representatives sat in stunned confusion. Some laughed nervously, dismissing the humans' words as empty threats. Others looked thoughtful, remembering that humans came from a world the Council had classified as a death planet, too dangerous for most species to even visit. The Viridian speaker watched the doors close behind the human delegation. She had a feeling the galaxy had just changed in ways the Council did not yet understand. She was right. 2 years after humanity walked out of the council chambers, strange reports began reaching council intelligence services. Commander Velkoth of Thessian Intelligence stood before a holographic display in his office, studying data that made no sense. Behind him, his assistant Rinshaw waited nervously for his assessment. "Show me again," Velkoth said, his scales shifting through colors that indicated deep confusion. The hologram changed, displaying a star map of human-controlled space. Except, it wasn't accurate anymore. Human colonies that had been registered in 14 systems 2 years ago were no longer present in those locations. Scanning showed abandoned infrastructure, stripped facilities, and empty orbital stations. "Where did they go?" Velkoth muttered. "That's not the confusing part," Rinshaw said quietly. She manipulated the controls, and the map expanded. New markers appeared across dozens of systems. "This is where we've detected human activity in the past 6 months," Velkoth counted quickly. 37 systems showing human presence. That was impossible. Humanity had possessed 32 ships 2 years ago. They couldn't have expanded to 37 systems without the Council noticing a massive construction effort. "How many vessels have we confirmed?" Velkoth asked. Rinshaw hesitated. "That's the problem, sir. We can't get an accurate count. Every time our scouts locate a human ship and try to approach for identification, it simply leaves. They don't engage, don't communicate, just activate their FTL drives and vanish. And when our vessels pursue, they can't. Human FTL technology has improved significantly. Their vessels are faster than anything we have. Much faster. Much faster." Velkoth's scales rippled with colors indicating concern. Faster FTL meant better engines, which meant improved power generation, which meant humanity had made major technological breakthroughs in just 2 years. That shouldn't be possible without Council knowledge. The Council monitored primitive species specifically to prevent unexpected technological leaps. What about their colonies? Have we attempted contact? Multiple times. Human colonies refuse all communication from Council vessels. When we try to approach, automated defense systems lock weapons onto our ships. We've received the same message from every human installation. Council vessels are not welcome in human space and will be fired upon if they enter weapons range. Velkoth felt something he rarely experienced. Genuine worry. The Council had dismissed humanity as insignificant. A minor irritation that would eventually accept Council authority or fade into irrelevance. But species that faded into irrelevance didn't expand their territory by more than double in 2 years. They didn't develop superior technology in isolation. They didn't have the confidence to threaten Council vessels. "Send everything to the Council Intelligence Committee," Velkoth ordered. "They need to see this." Across the galaxy, similar reports filtered through different intelligence networks. The Krell Dominion discovered human mining operations in asteroid fields that should have been lifeless rocks. When Krell vessels investigated, they found sophisticated automated systems extracting rare minerals with efficiency that surpassed Krell technology. The Vrock Empire detected human survey ships in systems far beyond what should have been humanity's exploration range. When questioned about how humans had traveled so far, so quickly, the survey ships simply transmitted coordinates showing they had already mapped 73 systems in that sector. Then they left before Vrock vessels could stop them. Independent traders brought back stories that were even more disturbing. Humans were trading now, but not with Council species. They traded with independent colonies, with minor species too small for Council membership, with fringe settlements that barely survived on the galaxy's edges. Human ships offered food, medicine, and manufactured goods in exchange for raw materials and information. Those traders described human vessels unlike anything in Council records. Sleek ships with hulls that seemed to absorb sensor scans. Massive cargo haulers that moved with the speed and agility of military corvettes. And behind them, always watching, were ships the traders called ghosts, because they appeared on scanners for just seconds before vanishing completely. The Council called an emergency session 18 months after humanity's departure. Representatives gathered with concern, replacing the amusement they had shown at the final human delegation. "We must address the human situation," the Viridian speaker began. "Our intelligence services report activity that suggests humanity has not collapsed or retreated, as we predicted. They're expanding," the Krell representative stated flatly. "Humanity now operates in at least 40 systems. They've established colonies on worlds we classified as unsuitable for settlement. They've built infrastructure in locations we considered worthless. How is this possible?" demanded a representative from a minor species. 2 years ago, they had barely 30 vessels. How do they have the resources for such expansion? Velkoth stepped forward to present his analysis. His scales showed colors of deep respect, which caught everyone's attention. Velkoth rarely showed respect for anyone. "The Council made several critical errors in assessing humanity," he began. "First, we assumed their small fleet represented their total industrial capacity. This was wrong. Humans have been constructing vessels in hidden locations for at least a decade, possibly longer. Second, we classified them as primitive, based on their late arrival to galactic affairs. This was wrong. Human technology development is extraordinarily rapid compared to other species. Third, we believed their requests for partnership indicated weakness. This was catastrophically wrong." The chamber filled with protest, but Velkoth continued speaking over the noise. "During 15 years of negotiations, humanity learned everything about us. They studied our technology, mapped our territories, analyzed our economies, and identified our weaknesses. While we dismissed them as insignificant, they prepared for the possibility that diplomacy would fail." "You're suggesting they planned this?" the Thessian representative asked, her scales showing shock. "I'm stating a fact," Velkoth replied. "Every human colony location was chosen for strategic value, not convenience. They settled harsh worlds because those worlds have resources the Council ignored. They built in systems we considered worthless because we wouldn't notice construction activity there. They maintained a small, visible fleet while building a much larger hidden force. This is speculation," the Vrok representative growled. "Then explain this." Velkoth activated a new hologram. It showed a human shipyard, photographed from extreme distance by a Thessian scout vessel. The shipyard was massive, built into an asteroid field in a system the Council had never bothered to survey properly. Dozens of vessels in various stages of construction filled the docks. "We estimate this single facility can produce more vessels per year than the entire Thessian fleet construction program," Velkoth said quietly. "And our intelligence suggests humanity operates at least 7 shipyards of this size." Silence filled the chamber. 7 shipyards, each outproducing Thessian construction, one of the major Council military powers. If true, humanity could field a fleet of hundreds within a few years. "We should have accepted their terms," the Viridian speaker said quietly. "We should have treated them as equals." "It's not too late," suggested a minor species representative. "We can reach out, offer better terms, negotiate new agreements." "We can try," Velkoth said. But his scales showed colors that meant he believed it was hopeless. "But I suspect humanity is no longer interested in asking for what they can now take." The Vrok representative stood, his crystals glowing with anger rather than fear. "Then we remind them of their place. The Council cannot allow a single species to defy our authority. We will send a fleet to human space and demand they return to negotiations." "And if they refuse?" the Viridian speaker asked. "Then we teach them the lesson I promised 2 years ago. We show them what happens to species who disrespect the Council." The vote passed, though not unanimously. 23 species abstained, their representatives uncomfortable with threatening military action against a species the Council had provoked into leaving. But the majority supported the Vrok proposal. A message would be sent to human space, demanding they return to negotiations within 30 days or face consequences. The message was transmitted to every known human colony and vessel. The response arrived within hours. It was audio only, and the voice was familiar to every council representative. "This is Jinsu Park, Secretary of External Affairs for the United Earth Government. The Galactic Council has demanded humanity return to negotiations. We decline. Humanity has moved beyond seeking council permission for our actions. We will continue our expansion, our trade relationships, and our exploration of the galaxy. Council vessels approaching human territory without permission will be turned away. Council threats will be ignored. Council authority is not recognized in systems claimed and settled by humanity. This is not negotiable. This is not a discussion. This is notification of the new reality. Humanity wishes the Council species, peace, and prosperity. But we will achieve both with or without Council cooperation." The recording ended. The Council chamber erupted in chaos. Some representatives demanded immediate military action. Others argued for caution. A few quietly began calculating whether their own species might benefit from maintaining private relationships with humanity, regardless of Council policy. The Viridian speaker sat in her chair, watching her carefully maintained order collapse. The Council had treated humanity like a minor problem that would resolve itself. Instead, they had created something much more dangerous. A rival power that had learned to operate outside Council control. And humanity was just getting started. The Vrock battle fleet assembled in the Cronus sector. At the edge of space, the Council recognized as human territory 47 warships, representing the military might that had kept Council space secure for 3 centuries. Against them, 3 small human colonies on marginal worlds with minimal defenses. Fleet Commander Throcknall stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Unbreakable Will, and studied tactical displays with satisfaction. Intelligence reported the human colonies had small populations, limited infrastructure, and only basic defensive capabilities. The mission was simple: demonstrate overwhelming force, demand immediate surrender, and return to Council authority, then establish occupying forces to ensure compliance. It would be over in hours. The primitives would see real military power and understand their mistake. "All vessels report ready," his tactical officer announced. "Excellent. Begin the jump. We'll emerge in standard attack formation directly above the primary colony world." The fleet activated FTL drives simultaneously, a precisely coordinated maneuver that demonstrated Vrock military discipline. The jump lasted 30 seconds. When they emerged, every ship immediately began active scanning and locked weapons on predetermined targets. "Surface installations identified," the tactical officer reported. "Detecting power signatures, consistent with defensive weapons. But nothing concerning. Basic missile batteries, kinetic defense platforms, standard shields, nothing that can threaten our fleet. Open communication channel to the colony. Demand immediate surrender." The channel opened. Throcknall spoke with the authority of someone who had never experienced defeat. "Human colony. This is Fleet Commander Throcknall of the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet. You are in violation of Council territorial agreements. You will immediately cease all operations, surrender control of your facilities, and prepare to receive Council occupation forces. You have 5 minutes to comply. Refusal will result in orbital bombardment of military targets, followed by forced occupation." 1. Silence. "Did they receive the transmission?" Throcknall asked. "Yes, Commander. All frequencies are open and functional. They're choosing not to respond." Throcknall's crystals glowed brighter with anger. "Then, we follow protocol. Tactical. Lock weapons on the surface defense installations. Prepare to fire on my mark." "Commander!" The sensor officer's voice held confusion. "I'm detecting new contacts, multiple vessels emerging from. I don't understand. They were already here. They were here the whole time." The tactical display updated. 18 vessels appeared on the scan, seemingly materializing from nothing. They formed a perfect envelope around the Vrock fleet, positioned at optimal firing angles. Every human vessel had weapons locked on multiple Vrock ships. How did they hide from our sensors? Throcknall demanded. That's impossible. I don't know, Commander. But they're powering weapons now. Energy signatures are. This can't be right. These readings show weapon systems far more powerful than our intelligence predicted. A new voice came through the communication channel. Female. Calm. Speaking Vrock language with perfect pronunciation. Vrock vessels. This is Admiral Choi Hana of the United Earth Defense Force. You have entered human territory without permission and threatened peaceful colonies with military action. You have exactly one opportunity to leave peacefully. Power down your weapons, turn your vessels away from our colonies, and begin FTL jump preparation. You have 2 minutes. Throcknall laughed. You dare threaten this fleet? We have 47 warships. You have 18. We are the Vrock Empire, the military backbone of the Galactic Council. You are primitives, playing with technology you barely understand. 1 minute. 30 seconds. Admiral Choi replied, her tone unchanged. This is your final warning, human. Surrender now, or we will destroy your colonies and hunt down every vessel in your pathetic fleet. 30 seconds. Commander, the tactical officer said urgently. Those human vessels, their weapons are fully charged now. Power levels are consistent with capital ship armaments, not the light weapons that should be mounted on vessels that size. And something else. There are weapons platforms in the asteroid field activating. Dozens of them. We're surrounded. Throcknall felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. But pride and 3 centuries of Vrock military dominance crushed that doubt. Humans were bluffing. They had to be. All vessels, fire at will, destroy the human ships. The Vrock fleet unleashed devastation. Missiles streaked across space. Energy weapons blazed. Kinetic projectiles accelerated to relativistic speeds. Enough firepower to level a planet focused on 18 human vessels. Every shot missed. The human ships moved like nothing Throcknall had ever seen. They accelerated and turned with impossible precision, evading weapons that should have been unavoidable. Their point defense systems shot down every missile while barely seeming to try. Energy weapons that should have burned through any shield scattered harmlessly against barriers that shouldn't exist on vessels that small. Then the humans fired back. The unbreakable will shuddered as something punched through its shields as if they were paper. Alarms screamed across the bridge. Damage reports flooded in from across the ship. Hull breach, decks 7 through 12. Shields are down to 40%. How did they penetrate our shields? Destroyer Wing 3 is gone, the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. 6 vessels destroyed in the first exchange. Wing 5 is reporting critical damage across all ships. On the display, Throcknall watched his fleet die. Human weapons tore through Vrock shields and armor with terrifying efficiency. Human ships danced through space, avoiding return fire while systematically destroying vessel after vessel. The weapons platforms hidden in the asteroids added their fire to the slaughter, catching Vrock ships in crossfire that left no room for evasion. Tactical assessment, Throcknall ordered, forcing his voice to remain steady. We cannot win this engagement, Commander. Human technology is far beyond our intelligence estimates. Their weapons are more powerful. Their shields are stronger. Their ships are faster. We need to retreat. The Vrock Empire does not retreat. Then the Vrock Empire will lose 47 vessels, and every crew member aboard them in the next 20 minutes. Another human voice came across the communication channel. This one was Admiral Choi again. But now she sounded almost bored. Vrock Commander, you have now seen what human weapons can do against your vessels. I could destroy your entire fleet in the next 15 minutes. Your shields cannot stop our weapons. Your vessels cannot evade our targeting. Your firepower cannot penetrate our defenses. This battle is over, and you lost before it began. We will never surrender to primitives. Throcknall shouted. I'm not asking for surrender. I'm offering you a choice. Continue fighting and die, or retreat and live. Take your surviving vessels and leave. Tell your empire what happened here. Tell them that humanity is not the weak species they believed us to be. Another explosion rocked the unbreakable will. 3 more Vrock vessels vanished from the tactical display. "Commander," his tactical officer said quietly, "we've lost 19 vessels. At current rates, the fleet will be completely destroyed in 11 minutes. Please, give the order to retreat." Throcknall looked at the display, watching his proud fleet being systematically annihilated by an enemy he had underestimated completely. Pride demanded he stay and fight to the last vessel. Survival instinct demanded something else. "All vessels," he said, the words tasting like poison. "Disengage and prepare for emergency FTL jump. Retreat to Rally Point Alpha. Thank you for choosing wisely," Admiral Choi said. "I'm ceasing fire now. You have 5 minutes to leave human space before I change my mind." The Vrock fleet fled. 28 vessels had been destroyed. The 19 survivors were all damaged, some critically. They jumped to FTL in disorder, the first time in Vrock military history that a fleet had retreated in chaos. Behind them, the human vessels moved back into defensive positions around the colonies they protected. They had not lost a single ship. They had barely taken any damage at all. On the surface of the colony world, people emerged from shelters to watch the Vrock fleet jump away in defeat. They had known the humans would protect them, but seeing it happen was different from believing it would. Admiral Choi Hana sat in her command chair aboard the destroyer Soul's Vengeance and prepared her report for Earth Command. The Vrock had learned their lesson. Now the question was whether the rest of the Council would learn it before more blood was spilled. She suspected they would not. The Council had spent centuries believing themselves superior to all other species. That kind of arrogance did not die easily, even when confronted with overwhelming evidence. But humanity had tried peace. They had tried diplomacy. They had asked nicely for 15 years. The galaxy had chosen to respond with contempt and threats. Now the galaxy would learn what happened when you pushed humans too far. The lesson had only just begun. The news of the Vrock defeat spread across Council space like a shockwave. Within days, every species knew that humanity had destroyed nearly 30 Vrock warships without losing a single vessel. Within weeks, every military analyst in the galaxy was trying to understand how such a decisive victory was possible. The consequences came quickly. Trade routes that human vessels had patrolled during the years of peace negotiations now suffered constant pirate raids. Human ships no longer protected anyone except human interests. Merchant vessels from Thessian space lost 17 cargo haulers in 3 months to pirates humanity could have stopped, but chose to ignore. The agricultural shortage hit the Krell Dominion first. For years, human colonies had exported food to Krell worlds where silicon-based life couldn't grow crops efficiently. When those exports stopped, Krell food prices tripled. Riots broke out on 2 colony worlds. The Dominion reached out to Earth, requesting emergency food supplies. The response was coldly professional. The United Earth government is willing to sell agricultural products at market rates plus 20%. Payment in advance. No credit terms. No long-term contracts. We reserve the right to refuse service for any reason. The Krell paid. They had no choice. But the 20% markup was calculated specifically to hurt. Humanity was not being generous anymore. Research programs across Council space discovered that human scientists were no longer responding to collaboration requests. Projects that depended on human expertise stalled. The theoretical physics breakthrough that had seemed within reach for the Viridian Institute vanished when the 3 human physicists involved declined to continue their work. They offered no explanations, just polite refusals. Worse than what humanity stopped doing was what they started doing. Commander Velkoth stood in the Thessian Intelligence Center, watching reports flood in with growing alarm. His scales cycled through colors so rapidly they became an indistinct blur. "Show me the summary again," he ordered. His assistant Rin Shah pulled up the compiled data. In the past 8 months, 17 colony worlds in Thessian space have declared independence. All of them received support from human sources. We've intercepted shipments of weapons, shield generators, medical supplies, and communication equipment, all of human manufacture. The independence movements are well-funded, well-armed, and increasingly effective. And the colonies in Krell space? 6 declared independence. Same pattern. Human support, human equipment, human advisors, though we haven't confirmed the last part. What about the pirate attacks on Council shipping? Rinshaw's colors shifted to shame. We believe humanity is providing pirates with intelligence on Council shipping routes and schedules. The attacks are too precise to be coincidental. Pirates hit valuable cargo with minimal escort protection, almost as if they know exactly which ships to target. Velkoth studied the data. Humanity was waging economic warfare without firing a shot. They protected their own interests, while watching Council stability crumble. Every colony that declared independence weakened Council authority. Every pirate raid hurt Council economies. Every trade relationship that disappeared reduced Council influence. It gets worse, Rinshaw added quietly. She displayed new information. Humanity has formed something they call the Independent Systems Alliance. It's a coalition of minor species, independent colonies, and fringe settlements. Over 100 systems have joined so far. They offer mutual defense, trade agreements, and collective bargaining power. Led by humanity, Velkoth stated rather than asked. Officially, it's a democratic alliance. But yes, Earth provides most of the military protection and coordinates most of the economic activity. They're building a rival power structure to the Council. Velkoth sat down heavily, a gesture of defeat among his species. We created this. The Council created this. We had the chance to make humanity our ally, and we chose to make them our enemy. What do? I don't know. But I need to present this to the Council immediately. The emergency council session took place 3 days later. Representatives arrived to find the chamber atmosphere heavy with tension. Everyone had seen reports from their own intelligence services. Everyone knew the galaxy was changing in ways that threatened Council dominance. The Viridian speaker called the session to order. We face a crisis of our own making. Humanity has become a destabilizing force across Council space. Our colonies rebel. Our trade networks collapse. Our security deteriorates. This must be addressed. We should have destroyed them when we had the chance. The Vrock representative growled. His crystals were dim, still showing the shame of the fleet's defeat. Now they're too strong. Are they? Asked a representative from a minor species. Or are we finally seeing them as they truly are, rather than as we wish them to be? What does that mean? The Thessian representative demanded. It means we underestimated them from the beginning. We saw primitive newcomers and dismissed their potential. We offered them servitude and called it partnership. We threatened them with violence and expected submission. We created an enemy through our own arrogance. So we should surrender to human demands? The Krell representative asked, voice like grinding stones. Accept this Independent Systems Alliance as a legitimate rival to the Council? We should consider our options carefully, the Viridian speaker said. Military action against humanity has proven problematic. The Vrock defeat demonstrated that human military capabilities exceed our intelligence estimates by a significant margin. Then we gather a larger fleet, the Vrock representative insisted. We commit resources from multiple species. We show humanity that the Council's combined might cannot be challenged. And if we lose? Velkoth asked quietly. He stood in the intelligence reporting section, his scales showing colors of deep concern. If we assemble the largest fleet in Council history and humanity destroys it as easily as they destroyed the Vrock fleet, what then? Do we accept that humanity is simply superior militarily? Do we acknowledge that we cannot defeat them through force? Impossible. No single species can match the combined military strength of the entire Council. Why not? Velkoth challenged. Because it has never happened before? Because we believe ourselves superior? Our beliefs don't change reality. And the reality is, that humanity prepared for war while we offered them insults disguised as diplomacy. A new voice joined the debate. The representative from a small species, called the Minshari, barely noticed in most council discussions. I propose we consider an alternative approach. Humanity formed the Independent Systems Alliance to provide smaller species with protection and fair trade relationships. What if the Council offered similar terms to our own members? What if we improved conditions for minor species, so they wouldn't need to turn to humanity for support? That would be showing weakness. The Thessian representative objected. No, Velkoth said slowly. That would be showing wisdom. Humanity isn't conquering these colonies and minor species. They're offering them something the Council hasn't. Respect, fair trade, and protection. Without exploitation. We can compete with that by providing the same things, but that would require restructuring our entire colonial system, the Krell representative protested. We would lose tributary income, resource extraction rights, preferential trade terms, and we would gain stability, the Viridian speaker said thoughtfully. We would gain loyalty based on mutual benefit rather than force. We would eliminate humanity's primary advantage in attracting allies. The debate continued for hours. Hardliners insisted military action was the only solution. Moderates argued for diplomatic outreach. Reformers suggested fundamental changes to council structure. Then a message arrived that ended all debate. It was broadcast on all frequencies, sent simultaneously to every council species and every independent colony. The speaker was Jinsu Park, and his message was delivered with the calm certainty of someone holding superior cards. This is Secretary Park of the United Earth Government, speaking on behalf of the Independent Systems Alliance. For 15 years, humanity sought partnership with the Galactic Council. We were rejected, exploited, and threatened. We accepted this reality and moved forward independently. The Council now faces a choice. You can accept the existence of the Independent Systems Alliance as a legitimate rival organization. We offer fair trade, mutual defense treaties, and diplomatic recognition. We will not interfere in Council internal affairs, and we expect the same respect in return. Alternatively, you can choose to view the alliance as a threat that must be destroyed. If you make this choice, understand clearly what it means. The alliance will defend itself. We have the military capability to protect our members. We have the economic strength to sustain ourselves. We have the diplomatic relationships to survive isolation. But more importantly, we have something the Council has lost: the genuine loyalty of our member systems. They join us voluntarily because we offer them fair treatment. They stay because we keep our promises. They fight alongside us because they believe in what we represent. The Council can no longer afford to treat smaller species as resources to be exploited. You can no longer assume your military strength makes you invincible. You can no longer believe that your age and experience grant you automatic superiority. Humanity learned these lessons through your rejection. We adapted. We prepared. We built something new. Now you must decide. Will you adapt as well? Or will you cling to old assumptions until they destroy you? The Independent Systems Alliance awaits your response. We hope you choose wisdom, but we are prepared for either choice. The message ended. The council chamber sat in stunned silence. Finally, the Viridian speaker spoke. We need to vote on our response. Do we pursue military action against the Alliance, or do we open diplomatic channels? And the vote was close. 43 species voted for military action. 38 voted for diplomacy. The rest abstained. 3. War was coming. And despite all their confidence, many council representatives felt something they had never experienced before when contemplating military conflict. They felt afraid. The war fleet assembled in neutral space, visible to every sensor in 3 sectors. 273 vessels from 18 different council species, the largest military force ever gathered under council authority. Enough firepower to conquer entire regions of space. The fleet's mission was simple: destroy the Independent Systems Alliance military forces, occupy human colonies, and restore Council authority across all disputed territories. Admiral Throcknall, his reputation somehow intact despite the previous defeat, commanded the Council forces. He stood on the bridge of the new flagship Inevitable Justice and watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. This time, there would be no underestimating humanity. This time, overwhelming force would crush any resistance. The fleet prepared to jump toward the Alliance's primary military staging area. Intelligence reported it was a system called Terra Nova, a heavily fortified human colony that served as Alliance military headquarters. Then, before the jump could begin, a communication came through on all Council channels. The hologram that appeared showed a woman in a simple military uniform. Admiral Choi Hana, of Earth. Council Fleet, this is Admiral Choi. I'm transmitting this message to ensure you understand exactly what you're about to do. Behind her, a massive holographic display activated, showing a star map of incredible detail. It marked every Council military installation, every fleet position, every important colony and strategic resource across Council space. This is real-time intelligence on Council military assets, Admiral Choi continued. We know where every one of your vessels is located. We know your defense plans for every major colony. We know the patrol routes of every security force across Council space. While you prepared this fleet, we prepared information. The display changed, showing human military positions. Dozens of fleets, hundreds of vessels, positioned across space in a pattern that made every Council military officer viewing the transmission feel cold. This is human military deployment. We have vessels within striking distance of 47 Council core worlds. We have the capability to attack multiple targets simultaneously. We have weapons that your shields cannot stop, as the Vrock already learned. Admiral Throcknall felt his crystals dimming with realization. Humanity wasn't just defending. They were positioned to attack. But here's what you need to understand, Admiral Choi said, and her tone softened slightly. We don't want this war. Humanity never wanted war. We wanted partnership, friendship, mutual cooperation, and respect. We still want those things. She leaned forward, her expression intense. If you bring this fleet against us, we will destroy it. If you attack our colonies, we will attack yours. If you make this a war of annihilation, we will ensure you cannot win it. Human beings survived ice ages that killed most life on our planet. We survived natural disasters that would have ended other species. We survived thousands of years of warfare against ourselves. We are very, very good at surviving. And we are even better at ensuring threats to our survival don't survive themselves. The display changed again, showing something new. Calculations, projections, casualty estimates. The numbers were horrifying. This is what total war between the Council and the Alliance would cost. 300 million dead in the first year. 12 core worlds rendered uninhabitable. Economic collapse, affecting every species in known space. Technological regression across multiple sectors. And for what? Because the Council refused to treat humanity as equals 15 years ago? Admiral Throcknall stared at the projections. His tactical officers ran their own calculations and reached the same conclusions. Total war would devastate both sides. There would be no winners. I'm offering you one final alternative, Admiral Choi said. Stand down this fleet, return to Council space. Send diplomatic representatives to negotiate with the Independent Systems Alliance, not to demand our submission, not to dictate terms, but to negotiate genuine agreements between equals. We're not asking for the Council to dissolve. We're not demanding territory or reparations. We're asking for the same thing we asked for 15 years ago. Recognition, respect, and fair treatment. The difference is that 15 years ago, we were asking from a position of weakness. Now we're offering from a position of strength. We could destroy this fleet. We could attack Council worlds. We could wage the war you seem determined to start. But we choose not to. We choose to offer you one more chance at peace. Because despite everything the Council has done, humanity remembers that we wanted to be your friends. We wanted to work together. We wanted to explore the galaxy as partners. That future is still possible, but only if you choose it. Now, today. Admiral Choi's hologram froze, waiting for response. On the inevitable Justice's bridge, Admiral Throcknall looked at his tactical officers. The Chief Tactical Officer's crystals showed colors of deep uncertainty. Unknown. Admiral, if their intelligence is accurate, and their capabilities match what they demonstrated in the previous battle, we face significant disadvantages. They have superior positioning, superior technology, and they've prepared for this confrontation. Our numerical advantage may not be sufficient. Probability of victory, 30 to 40%. But even if we win this battle, we'd suffer heavy losses, and their forces positioned near Council worlds could inflict massive damage while we're engaged here. We'd win the battle and lose the war. Throcknall's crystals dimmed further. Everything in his training, his culture, his personal pride, demanded he attack. The Vrock Empire did not negotiate with those who defied Council authority. The Vrock Empire did not back down from challenges. But the Vrock Empire also did not throw away hundreds of thousands of lives and dozens of worlds in a war that couldn't be won. Open a command channel to all fleet vessels, he ordered. This is Admiral Throcknall. Stand down from battle readiness. All vessels will hold position until further notice. The bridge crew stared at him in shock. Admiral, his second in command, asked carefully. The human is right. This war serves no purpose except to satisfy our wounded pride. The Council rejected humanity's offer of friendship, and now we face the consequences of that rejection. We can continue making the same mistake and face destruction, or we can finally demonstrate the wisdom our species claim to possess. He turned to the communications officer. Send a message to Admiral Choi. Inform her that the Council fleet will withdraw pending diplomatic negotiations. Request that Alliance representatives meet with Council diplomats at a neutral location to discuss terms of mutual recognition. Admiral, the Council will view this as surrender, his tactical officer warned. The Council will view this as survival. Throcknall corrected. And they will eventually thank us for it. The message was sent. Hours later, the massive Council fleet began its withdrawal. No shots had been fired. No vessels had been destroyed. For the first time in Council history, a military force had been assembled and then stood down based on diplomatic considerations rather than military defeat. News spread across the galaxy within days. The Council had backed down. Humanity and the Independent Systems Alliance had faced the full military might of the galactic establishment and won without fighting. In the Council chambers, representatives gathered in somber mood. The vote on how to proceed was closer this time. 143 species voted to begin diplomatic negotiations with the Alliance. Only 87 voted to continue military preparations. The negotiations would take months. There would be arguments, demands, compromises, and setbacks. But they would happen. The Council would finally treat humanity and its Alliance partners as equals, because they had no other choice. In his office on Earth, Jin-Soo Park stood at the window looking up at the stars. His assistant, Park Min-ji, entered, carrying the latest diplomatic briefing. The Council has officially requested negotiations, she reported. They're proposing a neutral station as meeting location. They've even suggested we co-chair the initial sessions. Jin-Soo nodded slowly. 15 years too late. Do you think they've actually learned? Or are they just buying time to prepare another attack? Both, probably. Some of them have learned. Others are just afraid. Fear can be as effective as wisdom in preventing stupid decisions. He turned from the window to face her. But it doesn't matter what they've learned. What matters is what we've proven, which is that humanity doesn't need their permission to exist. We don't need their approval to expand. We don't need their friendship to survive. He paused. But we're still willing to offer partnership if they're finally ready to accept it. And if they're not? Jinsu looked back at the stars. Then, humanity will continue moving forward. We'll keep building the alliance. We'll keep expanding into new systems. We'll keep showing the galaxy that there's an alternative to Council dominance. The alliance is growing faster than anyone predicted. 30 new members in the last month alone. Minor species that were afraid to challenge the Council now see that it's possible. Because we showed them it was possible. We proved that you don't have to accept exploitation. You don't have to bow to species who claim superiority through age rather than achievement. You can stand up, build something new, and succeed. Minji smiled. The Council must hate that we're more popular with smaller species than they are. They hate it because it's their own fault. They had centuries to build genuine loyalty among their members. Instead, they built resentment, disguised as stability. We came along and offered something better. Do you ever wish they had accepted our original terms? 15 years ago, when we first asked for partnership, Jinsu was quiet for a long moment. Every day, we could have accomplished so much together. Humanity could have contributed to galactic civilization while learning from species with thousands of years of experience. We could have been friends instead of rivals, but they chose differently. They did, and now everyone lives with the consequences of that choice, including them. He picked up the diplomatic briefing, scanning the proposed negotiation terms. They were reasonable, almost fair. The Council was finally treating humanity with the respect they should have shown 15 years ago. Prepare our response, Jinsu ordered. Tell them we accept the negotiation proposal. Send our delegation roster. Make clear that we're negotiating as equals, not as supplicants seeking Council approval. And if they object to that framing, Jinsu smiled, but it was not a warm expression. Then they can watch the alliance continue growing while they argue about semantics. We don't need these negotiations to succeed. They do. They just might not realize it yet. Minji left to draft the response. Jinsu returned to the window, watching the stars that humanity had finally claimed as their birthright, rather than a privilege granted by others. Somewhere out there, the Council was learning to adapt to a galaxy that no longer revolved around them. Somewhere out there, hundreds of minor species were discovering they didn't have to accept exploitation. Somewhere out there, human ships were exploring new systems, building new colonies, and expanding the boundaries of what humanity could achieve. The galaxy had changed. Not because humanity wanted war, but because humanity had refused to accept servitude. They had asked for peace as equals. They had been rejected. So they had built something new and forced the galaxy to recognize it. The future was uncertain. The negotiations might fail. The Council might eventually choose war despite the costs. Other challenges would emerge as humanity continued expanding. But one thing was certain. Humanity would face those challenges on their own terms, answerable to no one who did not treat them with genuine respect. They had tried asking nicely. The galaxy had responded with contempt. Now the galaxy would learn to ask nicely if they wanted humanity's cooperation. And maybe, just maybe, this time everyone would choose wisdom over arrogance. Jinsu hoped so. But if not, humanity was ready for that too. They always were. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.